That's my signal to the recording booth. So now we should be on the web. Good evening, Farmington Hills. Welcome to our regularly scheduled meeting of April 10th, 2023. I welcome you all today, and if you would like to speak on any item that is not on the agenda, you can come forward during public question and comments. If there's an item on the agenda that you would like to speak to, please fill out a blue form that's located in one of those wall boxes right there. You can see the blue. And they'll pass it up, and then when we get to that item on the agenda, we will call on you. So I just want to make sure everybody knows that so that I don't overlook anybody who may want to say something on an agenda item. The first item of business tonight is the Pledge of Allegiance. So I hope you will stand up and join me in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next, we have the roll call.
Mayor Barnett.
Here.
Council members Bullaware.
Here.
Bridges.
Here.
Bruce.
Here.
Massey.
Here.
Newland.
Here.
And I will note that Councilmember Knoll is absent.
Okay, next is the approval of the regular session meeting agenda. Ken? Dr. Massey?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I would move that we approve the agenda as published.
A second. Okay, it's been moved by Dr. Massey, seconded by Councilmember Newland. This is a regular vote. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Passes unanimously with one absence. Next is the proclamation recognizing April 24th, 2023 as Armenian Genocide Remembrance Day. Mr. Bridges, could you read that one for us?
Let me get that for you. Wait, I got it.
I know you had, do you want to read the next one?
I'll read the next one.
Okay. Dr. Massey, would you like to read the proclamation for the Armenian Genocide Remembrance Day?
I would be proud to do that. Proclamation for Armenian Genocide Remembrance Day, April 24th, 2023. Whereas the Farmington Hills community joins human rights advocates and historians from around the world to recognize and mourn the 1.5 million Armenians who perished in the Armenian genocide as ordered by the government of the Ottoman Empire, which began on 24 April 1915 with the arrest, exile, and murder of hundreds of Armenian intellectuals, political, religious, and business leaders, and whereas during the 1915 to 1923 genocide, Armenian survivors were forced to witness the slaughter of their relatives and the loss of their ancestral lands and property in what is now known as the first genocide of the 20th century. And whereas the state of Michigan declared in Act 558 of 2002 that April 24th of each year shall be the Michigan Day of Remembrance of the Armenian Genocide of 1915 to 1923 in the memory of the victims and in honor of the survivors. And whereas the failure to learn from the past allows history to repeat itself, as the world saw during the 2020 Nagorno-Karabakh War, when the military forces of Azerbaijan and Turkey attacked the Armenian civilian population of Nagorno-Karabakh and its churches and civic buildings, resulting in casualties and the loss of ancestral lands and properties motivated by the same genocidal campaign that their ancestors suffered. And whereas Farmington Hills is proud to join the Armenian American community in its commemoration of the 108th anniversary of the Armenian genocide in an effort to educate others about the tragic loss of life, land, and human rights of the Armenian people and the crimes of genocide committed against them, as well as the Greeks and Assyrians due to religious and political beliefs. Now, therefore, be it resolved that Vicki Barnett, the mayor of the city of Farmington Hills, on behalf of the city council, does hereby proclaim April 24, 2023 as Armenian Genocide Remembrance Day in memory of the victims of the Armenian genocide and in honor of the survivors and their descendants, and urge all citizens to join in this solemn remembrance.
Thank you, and we have, I'm going to try this, so correct me, will you please? Zovanar Hamakorzian? Got it right, so glad. Yes, well, first, let me hand you the proclamation. I thank you so much for coming tonight. And thank you.
Thank you.
And you want to make some comments? Absolutely.
On behalf of the Armenian community in Farmington Hills, and especially the members that are here today, I would like to thank you, Honorable Mayor and Council members, for issuing this proclamation to recognize April 24th as Armenian Genocide Remembrance Day in Farmington Hills. This proclamation is especially important now in the light of current events in Armenia and Artsakh, Nagorno-Karabakh, where Armenians are under imminent threat of another genocide by Azerbaijan. It has been 120 days that 120,000 Armenians in Artsakh are under complete blockade, cut out from the world, subjected to attacks, and terrorized by Azerbaijan. Azerbaijan is blocking the only road that connects them to Armenia and the world, cutting their gas and electricity lines. Many of them are in dire need of basic needs and medication. They are held hostage when the world is watching another ethnic cleansing campaign unfolding against the Armenians. It is sad that it has passed 108 years after the Armenian genocide of 1915, and yet the cycle of genocide against the Armenians is still ongoing. It is crucial to condemn the heinous crimes against humanity for them not to be repeated, and we want to thank the City of Farmington Hills for joining the Armenian community in Farmington Hills and around the world to demand justice and end the cycle of genocide. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for coming. We really appreciate it. This was a horrible moment in world history, and we want to recognize it and make sure we do talk about it so that it does not happen again. Unfortunately, it's... Next item on the agenda is proclamation recognizing April 9th through 15th as National Public Safety Telecommunications Week. Mr. Bridges.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Whereas emergencies require the prompt response of police, fire, and emergency medical services, which are critical to the protection of life and the preservation of property. And whereas the safety of our community members, police officers, firefighters, and paramedics is dependent upon the quality and accuracy of information obtained from those who contact communication centers. And whereas the City of Farmington Hills Public Safety communicators are the first and most critical contact that the community members have with emergency services. And whereas the public safety telecommunicators provide a vital link for police officers, firefighters, and paramedics by monitoring their activities via radio and providing them with essential information to ensure their safety. Whereas our city's public safety telecommunicators have contributed substantially to the apprehension of criminals, suppression of fires, prompt treatment of patients. And whereas these dedicated employees exhibit compassion, understanding, and professionalism in the performance of their duties, helping to save millions of lives every day as they serve the public in this demanding profession. Now, therefore, be it resolved that Vicki Barnett, the mayor of the City of Farmington Hills, on behalf of the City Council, do hereby proclaim the week of April 9th through the 15th, 2023 as National Public Safety Communicator Week in Farmington Hills, and call upon everyone to recognize the important role that these professionals play as they assist others in their time of need and maintain the safety of all members of our community.
Okay, and we have our dispatchers here to receive this proclamation.
And Police Officer Nichols as well.
Oh, okay, Police Officer Nichols, yes. Thank you both very much for coming. Do you want us to all come down?
Go ahead, Mary, go ahead.
I'm just going to get behind, stand up behind here.
Okay. We're going to stand up. Okay. Thank you. Hey, did you want, yes, please say something.
We just wanted to say thank you on behalf of all of us dispatchers. We wanted to thank City Council, the mayor, and the administration for recognizing us this week. Thank you.
Thank you. I want to add something else. While our dispatchers are absolutely the first line of our first responders, you're like responder A, and then you dispatch to everybody else who are responders B and C. The country has still not fixed the interoperable telecommunication system between jurisdictions. And as we know, with more and more problems occurring that are life-threatening, public shootings, all kinds of horrible things, and building collapses and whatever else could happen, multi-jurisdictions do show up to attend to an emergency. And we are very thankful for all of our partners in the first responder world who are not only in Farmington and Farmington Hills, but surround us community-wise as well, and the Sheriff's Department. There was a set aside by the federal government, and I'm telling you all this because you need to write letters to your congresspeople. There was a set aside for interoperable communication systems so that Farmington Hills could talk to Birmingham, could talk to Detroit, could talk to other people with radios. That public safety system called Block D still has not been fully released to public safety. The federal government is sitting on it, and we need that spectrum immediately. So you gave me the opportunity to say my speech, and we want to give you all the tools you need to protect you and life, liberty, and property in this state, and that's a key goal of ours, and we want to thank you for all your help.
Madam Mayor,
Yes.
I'd also like to add, I think it's so critical to understand how important dispatchers are in terms of their life-saving ability. They can make the difference between life and death, and they do it every day, whether it's telling somebody how to perform CPR or deliver a baby or other medical emergencies. That's the first point of contact people have, and sometimes the most important point of contact until other services obviously arrive and can take over, but they do a great job.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
See, you can see we love you too. It's all part of the first responders creed, you know? And we need to make sure that they have all the equipment necessary to do their jobs. Next item is correspondence. Does anybody have any correspondence to report? I received a letter over the weekend that I did forward to our planning department and to the city manager regarding a problem with getting building permits issued, and I know that we'll take care of that. So that's the only unusual letter that I received in the last week. Next is consent agenda. All items under consent agenda, numbers 9 through 20, are considered routine, administrative, or non-controversial by the City Council and would be enacted in one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a council member or citizen so requests, in which event the items may be removed from the consent agenda for consideration. I know that Mr. Bridges has a question on one of the items. Would you like that to be just a general question?
Just general.
After we pass the motion? Okay, perfect.
13.
Okay. I will now ask Mayor Pro Tem Dr. Randy Bruce to read our consent agenda.
Thank you, Mayor. Number 9, recommended approval of award of contract for the Hull Road Gravel Road Conversion Project to Florence Cement Company in the amount of $1,111,055.10. 10 cents is important, I guess. Number 10, recommended approval of award of contract for the 2023 Local Roads HMA Rehabilitation Project to Halsted Commons Subdivision to Nagel Paving Company in the amount of $586,979.23. Number 11, recommended approval of award of contract for the 2023 Local Roads HMA Rehabilitation Project, Miller Rougemont Farm Subdivision, Spring Valley Road to Nagel Paving Company in the amount of $743,969.08. Recommended approval of award of cooperative bid for rock salt to Detroit Salt Company for a not to exceed total amount of 5,850 tons or $348,777 for fiscal year 2023-24, and an estimated amount of 5,850 tons or $359,249 for fiscal year 2024-25, with possible extensions, CMR 42349. Number 13, recommended approval of award of proposal for smart cities projects, including signage, poles, lighting, related equipment, and infrastructure to Clovity Incorporated in the estimated yearly amount of $350,000 with possible extensions, CMR 42350. Number 14, recommended approval of emergency purchase of replacement golf course range netting to Net Connection in the amount of $24,350. Number 15, recommended approval of a request for employment under Section 10.01A of the City Charter for a makerspace manager. Number 16, recommended approval of request for employment under Section 10.01A of the City Charter for 2 Hawks Nests leaders. Number 17, recommended approval of request for employment under Section 10.01A of the City Charter for a Hawk Concessions leader. Number 18, recommended approval of request for employment under Section 10.01A of the City Charter for a Hawk Concessions attendant. 19, recommended approval of request for employment under Section 10.01A of the City Charter for Mechanic 2. And number 20, recommended approval of City Council regular session meeting minutes of March 20th, 2023.
Okay, is there a motion? Dr. Massey?
Yes, Madam Mayor, I would move that consent agenda items 9 through 19 are approved as read by the Mayor Pro Tem.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, it's been motion made by Dr. Massey, seconded by Councilmember Bolaware, that we approve consent agenda items 9 through 19. Are there any questions?
Yeah, the question is, could somebody give an explanation regarding number 13? I just want to know, is this because we have an application in process, or regarding smart cities? Who's able to talk about that? Just to tell me.
Ms. Monaco?
Ms. Monaco. Just a brief explanation as to
Smart lights.
smart cities and.
So smart city technology, as you know, is ever changing. So we wanted to position ourselves so as we grow into technologies, we have partnerships so we can provide different infrastructure in different locations. So as an example, here on in this campus, we'll be putting in 2 signs. Right now, those signs are failing, right on the front, on 11 Mile and on Orchard Lake. Those signs, once complete designed, with this program, will also have temperature sensors and cameras and all that smart technology. Those same signs may not work for the Hawk or for other locations that we want to put them in. We might want something more historic. We might want just lighting. We might want other types of technologies to be brought in. So we did the design and as a fee schedule, as well as all the equipment, like a time and materials contract. So we'll be coming to you with, over the years, with this is what we'd like to see in this year's budget. These are the type of projects we're going to be doing. And so we designed the contract that way.
Is this part of the application process to be a smart city? Or no?
No, it's not.
Separate from that?
Yeah, no, it's not. We're not applying to be a smart city. We're employing the technologies.
Thank you, appreciate that. Thank you.
So imagine if our crosswalks had not only a light and a walking signal, but also said, you may now cross the road, you have 10 seconds, you have 9 seconds, you have 8 seconds to accommodate those of our residents who are blind and other things.
All right, gotcha. Thank you, appreciate it.
And they could also make emergency announcements, which might be unsettling if you're walking by one, but like, find shelter now.
I have a motion, Madam Mayor.
It's already been
No,
motioned.
for second motion, for the number 20.
Oh, okay, well, we have to vote on this one first.
Okay.
Okay, any more questions? Seeing none, those in favor, this is a roll call vote.
Councilmembers Newland,
Yes.
Bolaware,
Yes.
Massey,
Yes.
Bridges,
Yes.
Bruce,
Yes.
and Mayor Barnett.
Yes.
You didn't include 20, did you?
No, I
No,
didn't
okay.
include 20.
I have a motion, Madam Mayor, that the council approve item number 20 as well, as read by the Mayor Pro Tem, Randy Bruce. Thank you.
Okay, it's been moved and.
second.
Moved by Mr. Bridges, seconded by Ms. Newland. Are there any questions? Seeing none, this is a roll call vote.
Councilmembers Bolaware,
Staying.
Massey,
Yes.
Bridges,
Yes.
Bruce,
Yes, but I think, does Mr. Bridges have to abstain because he wasn't here?
Oh, I was here. March 20, I want to hear 20.
Bulaware, Councilmember Bulaware abstained.
It says on here Bridges and Bulwares.
Oh.
Bulaware on members.
Let me,
absent.
We're
let
both
me pull
absent.
my motion then. Can't offer a motion.
Yeah, you can.
You can offer
According
the
to-
motion, you
can
just
offer
have
the
to
motion.
abstain.
Yes, you can make the motion, you just will have to abstain from your own
Thank
motion.
you. Let me retract my vote and said abstain.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank
Councilmembers-
God I don't have to go
Councilmember-
through.
Mayor Bruce, thanks for that notice. I appreciate that.
No problem.
Councilmember Bruce,
Yes.
Councilmember Newland,
Yes.
and Mayor Barnett.
Yes, okay, so I don't have to do a motion to reconsider, thank God. That's a mess, by the way. Next item on the agenda is public questions and comments. Anybody who would like to speak on something not on the agenda did not have to fill out a blue slip and can come and take up to 5 minutes, we would hope less, to speak on an item of your particular interest or need. You may do so now. Seeing so many people rush up, I will now close the public comment and questions and move on to council member comments and announcements.
Yeah,
Ms. Bolaware?
yes, yes. This is really for special services and for Ellen. I had an opportunity to attend my first outing for, I think it was the Detroit Retro Society, which was very well attended, and had a chance to speak to a lot of concert goers there, and they had nothing but good things to say about the Hawk, about the concert. Their only concern was they thought that we were not doing a great job of publicizing all of the great concerts that we have. I know that I've seen anyway, Facebook posts and emails from special services. And so I was thinking that, is there any way that we could put an electronic sign out in front of the Hawk to announce some of our programs so that they're more visible and they're as part of our marketing campaign? Because, we have such wonderful programs, but the attendance at some of them, this place should have been packed, but so many people did not know about it.
I believe part of that will be in our budget discussions, which are
Okay.
coming up.
All right.
Where there is a desire to use more electronic
Thanks, yes.
advertising and other
Okay.
things through the website and other webs, .coms, to publicize our events.
Oh, that's
That was
great.
something that came before us at a council meeting that we have postponed to a study session discussion during budget.
Oh, okay, well, thank you. And for everyone else, I had a chance to speak to a lot of the individuals at the concert, and they had nothing but great things to say about our city, about, of course, our special services department, public safety, our recreational parks, the Catholic in particular, especially some of the senior people that were there, were just ecstatic about the services that we offered. And I thought I'd share that with my other board council members here.
Thank you. Any other council member? Yes, Ms. Newland?
I would like to publicly thank the city for allowing the budget that we are able to attend national conferences. I just returned from National League of Cities in Washington, D.C. I'm so glad that we rejoined. It is the largest, it is the main group that lobbies for cities' voice in Washington. I attended probably between 2 days, probably up to, say, 15, 20 different topics, ranging from affordable housing to infrastructure to water safety to public safety. It is vital to be able to have this kind of education as elected officials. So again, I want to thank the city. Also, it was also wonderful to meet with our state rep, with our rep, and also our 2 state senators. And we were very well welcomed. So again, I want to thank the city for allowing this budget for us to be able to attend.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else? Seeing no one else, let's move on to the city manager update.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, council. Yard waste, what can I say about yard waste pickup? So we've had some challenges, our hauler has had some challenges this last week in large part due to the volume that many residents have been holding over from the March storms. and our contractor fell behind by a day or so. I was informed over the weekend that they had indeed finished their routes for pickup of yard waste that meets our yard waste pickup standards on Saturday. So essentially, everybody was delayed at least a day, some longer, but our contractor managed to pick that up, and we will continue to monitor that situation as we progress here into the spring. After a tour through the city this morning, there are still large branches in the rights-of-way that don't meet our yard waste pickup, and we will be evaluating that situation in the next couple of weeks to figure out how we may want to approach that. The other big thing is road construction. Now that the weather is broke, obviously everybody's been experiencing the 696 construction. Many of our local road projects have started or will start in earnest, so I would encourage folks in those neighborhoods and in those areas to sign up for the listserv for road construction, and you can access all that information on the city's website. Thank you.
Okay,
Madam Mayor,
yes.
I have a question for the city manager. Would it, I did contact Ms. Mondora, and with the idea, now that Drake Road is closed underneath the 696 overpass, would it be possible to put a road closed sign down by Howard Road? Just because a lot of folks still don't, kind of get it. And all of the signage is at 11 Mile, which is the detour. But that leaves people who may pull out of the various subdivisions or come through Howard Road, and just something there to say, hey, don't keep going. It's harder to turn. It's easier to turn around at Howard Road than it is further up, further to the north.
We can certainly do that. I saw that email transmittal come through. I think we were going to reach out to MDOT this morning. When it came through late last week, so I'll circle back with our traffic engineer to find out what that
Sure.
what that request, but it may certainly make sense. They're going all the way down and they're turning around and coming all the way back, right?
Well, I do maintain that if you get caught in it once, you'll die.
You'll remember, yeah.
But I will tell you that isn't always the case. Sometimes you're thinking about it, it's habit. So just that little reminder might be very helpful.
No problem.
Dr. Bruce?
Yeah, on a different issue, I brought this up, I think, maybe about a year or so ago, maybe even a little bit longer. The road into the post office on 12 Mile, and also feeds the library, is now so bad. There's so many large potholes on that road. You're risking getting a flat tire and bending your rims when you go in and out of that post office, which I have to do almost on a daily basis. And a lot of our residents use that road. And I believe it's privately owned by the corporations or whatever, but they've got to step up. That road that whole section is in such disrepair that it's harming our citizens who have to go to the post office or to the library. And that road it's inexcusable that they are not repairing. And yes, those holes have to be filled in, but that's not a long-term solution to how bad that section of road that extends back quite far, the condition that road is in. I think whatever pressure we can apply to whoever is responsible for that road needs to be applied, because it is a mess. So something has to be done, and they did throw a little bit at it, I think, the last time I complained, and they filled a couple of holes, but that's just a very temporary thing. It needs to be totally redone.
Yeah, and for our residents that, because you can't turn left going westbound on 12 Mile into the library entrance, you have to turn at that point. So anybody coming from the east down 12 Mile to go to the library is forced to use that access road.
We'll certainly make a phone call.
And I know that because I was just there with my grandson.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Love having one of those little guys around. Anyone else? Okay, next item on the agenda is a public hearing. Number 4, public hearing and consideration of introduction of an ordinance amending the Farmington Hills Code of Ordinance, Chapter 34, zoning, Article 3, zoning district, Section 34-3.1.5, RA2, one-family residential, subsection 34-3.1.5B, principal permitted uses, in order to amend the temporary operational services Oh, and in order, we need to fix some of the restrictions at the Hawk. That's what this is.
Yes.
Thank you. So I will turn it over to our planning director.
Yes, good evening, Mayor
Good
and council
evening.
members. I'm Charmaine Kettler-Schmaltz, for those who don't already know me. I'm here to introduce the zoning text amendment number 1, 2023. This text amendment stems from the city council's authorization of potential use of the space on the third floor of the Hawk for educational, innovation, and economic development incubator. And this was also visited by the council at their meeting in August of 2021. This text amendment would amend the permitted uses within the RA2 district for municipal facilities alone, to expand that to allow for, hold on one second, I lost my spot. Municipal facilities that provide both educational and temporal operational services, such as classes and for the purposes of economic development within the community. So we are here for the review and public comment. The Planning Commission held their public hearing on March 16th and unanimously recommended approval of this text amendment to City Council. I'm here to answer questions either prior to or after the public comments.
Okay, does any council have any questions? Nope, not yet. Okay. And I will officially open the public hearing. Anyone wishing to come forward who's read the new ordinance and loves it? Seeing no one, I will now officially close the public hearing and bring it back to council. Is there, Dr. Massey?
Madam Mayor, I would move for the introduction of an ordinance amending the Farmington Hills Code of Ordinances, Chapter 34, Zoning, Article 3, Zoning Districts, Section 34-3.1.5, RA2, One Family Residential, subsection 34-3.1.5.b, principal permitted uses in order to amend the subsection 34-3.1.5.b.f to allow municipal facilities that provide economic development, educational, and temporary operational services as principal permitted uses in the RA2 zoning district.
Support.
It's been moved by Dr. Massey, supported by Dr. Bruce, and it will come back just this way at our next meeting to be read again, because first we do an introduction, and then the following meeting we do enactment. So, any discussion? Okay. It's a roll call vote.
Council members Massey,
Yes.
Bridges,
Yes.
Bruce,
Yes.
Newland,
Yes.
Bullaware,
Yes.
and Mayor Barnett.
Yes. Brings us now to item 5, public hearing and consideration of revised plan unit development plan, PUD 3-2021, located at 32600 Northwestern Highway.
Good
Hello
evening
again.
Hello again. Want to do a brief introduction before we move on to the applicant's presentation. So this evening we have the PUD Plan Number 3, 2021. There are some updates to this plan from the last time that you have seen it. There's been a bit of a journey for this location. They've gone through over 2 years of plan review before the Planning Commission, and a few meetings before yourselves, one public hearing in October, 2 study sessions that has led to the plan that you have before you this evening. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn it over to Jim Butler, who is representative of the property and proponent. And then after he is finished, we would have the presentation from our consultants, Giffords Webster, prior to the public hearing item. Okay?
Okay, thank you.
Good evening. Jim Butler, PEA Group. Address is 1849 Pond Run, Auburn Hills, Michigan, 48326. Here on behalf of the owner and applicant, Northwestern Holdings LLC. A bit of the history of the project. The owner acquired the property in 1992. It was about 15 acres that he had acquired. In 2005, he had submitted an application for a PUD. Ultimately, that application was withdrawn. It was for a residential or retail type development. In 2007, we went before the city council and received a rezoning of the property from what was then a kind of a hodgepodge, a P1, an RM, an L1, a B. So we went to that, to a B2, to a B3. In 2014, the Road Commission acquired some of the property for the reconfiguration of 14 Mile Road and Northwestern Highway. In 2018, we came before you for a PUD for what's called North Point PUD. That was for the development of a self-storage and senior living facility. And in 2021, we submitted a PUD application for the subject parcel, which was approximately 5.3 acres. The planning director kind of went through some of the history. Obviously, it's been about 2 years. We did initially get in February of last year from the Planning Commission, we got a recommendation for approval for the qualification. We did submit for our final determination to the Planning Commission. They did hold a public hearing. And then we went through a variety of other meetings to go through the project, made some changes. And then in September of this past year, we did receive an approval for a recommendation to this board for 7-2. We were in front of you back in October. We've had a couple of subsequent study sessions, so that brings us to today. This project has evolved from the time we started with the Planning Commission. Initially, we had a 5-story building, about 242 units. We were challenged with the height of the building and the density. We looked at another way to lay out the building. Unfortunately, raised it up to 6 stories and 206 units. So we went back to the drawing board again and lowered it 1 story, increased the unit count, but the problem with this was the center courtyard. If you recall, in the previous one, it had a center courtyard. This didn't. And we were challenged again to lower the height of the building and the density. So that comes before with the plan we have now, which is 4 stories and 217 units. The site plan, again, it's a 4-story building, 217 units. There is a mix of 112 1-bedroom units, 101 2-bedroom units, and 4 3-bedroom units. The building is 55 feet in height, and that's to the top of the parapet. And the number of parking spaces for this project is 365 spaces, of which 264 spaces are under the building. That's about 72% of the total parking spaces for the site. These are some images that we showed you last time when we met during the study session, and when we're done, I will show the flyover. First image to the top is from Northwestern Highway, showing the Country Corners condominiums and the retail development. The second photo down and left is kind of looking north with our development on the left and the Country Corners on the right. Pedestrian connectivity, this is just an image of the site. You know, our site area is in red, and just showing the sidewalks that are available and the connections that are available for the public to use. The amenities of the overall development. It has a state-of-the-art clubhouse internally to the building, has a pool with a pool house center, landscape center court. That courtyard will be a mixture of landscaping and hardscaping. There's a strength and conditioning center inside the building. There's accommodations for food and package delivery services, rideshare accommodations, bike storage, EV charging stations. There's an on-site professional management team that will be engaged with the project, and then concierge services. For the units will have access, obviously, to indoor parking There are multiple points of access into that area. Large windows with balconies, stainless steel kitchen appliances, in-home washer and dryer, smartphone controls for the units, solid surfaces countertops, and wood-style flooring. Targeted lease prices that we're looking at for a one-bedroom, about $1,800, two-bedroom, $2,600, and a three-bedroom, $3,000. The benefits of the project: it's a high-quality development. It provides for a single access point onto Northwestern Highway. It provides for an additional residential density to support the existing and proposed retail developments in the area. Development is a lower generator of traffic when you compare it to what could be built under the retail zoning, the B2 and the B3, which is approximately 50,000 square feet. It provides for housing opportunities for higher income young professionals, the installation of a iconic art feature along Northwestern Highway, and provides a future space for a transit stop along Northwestern Highway. For this project, we're requesting 4 deviations, first being the height. We're requesting a height of 55 feet, whereas 50 feet is permitted, so we're asking for a 5-foot deviation. On the east side, a setback to the residential, we're asking for 52.47 feet, where 75 feet, so a deviation of 22.53 feet. Density. Per your ordinance, it's counted on rooms. We are proposing 543 rooms are proposed. The maximum number per your comparable zoning is 230, so we're asking for a deviation of 313 rooms. And then finally, for parking, we're asking for 365 spaces be provided. 436 are required. We're asking for a deviation of 71 spaces. I'm going to show you if it works. Flyover. This is a flyover that we showed during our last study session. So starting at Northwestern Highway, working our way along the east side of the building, going along the back where the senior facility is, and then working our way to the Country Corners that is looking south. The distance from the Country Corners, the closest building, to our building is approximately 117 feet. So to give you some scale and perspective, and I know in your packet also there's a variety of images. So if you have any questions of me, be happy to answer them.
Does anybody have any questions? Mike?
Mr.
Bridges?
Quick question, yes. If approved, when will you start construction of this project?
Well, we still have to go through the site plan process, so we're probably looking at next year.
Next year?
Yes, sir.
Now, what's the total investment in the city?
30 million.
30 million?
Yep.
Thank you, appreciate that.
Any other questions right now? Nope, then I guess it's time to hear from our consultant.
You want me on board?
I don't really even need this. No, I'll just put it up to the side here a little bit. Good evening,
Hello.
Jill Bain with Giffords Webster. It's nice to see you all and have a chance to talk a little bit about this plan unit development project. I don't necessarily need to go into all the history because we've had that and you've heard from the applicant what the waivers are. I'll touch on those again. But in light of, I think, Mayor, some of your introductory or follow-up comments that you've made during tonight's meeting where you've explained some things to the community as you've gone through, I think I would just like to do that for the plan unit development process. So just to kind of give some background, as you know, because you have heard this many times, a plan unit development is a tool that the community can use to allow some flexibility in the application of the zoning ordinance in exchange for some other community benefits, some larger benefits. We don't send people through this process just to get away with some things. Sometimes we might hear people say that. We're really here to try to understand some constraints of development, some constraints from unique parcels such as this one, and to allow some new development to take place or redevelopment to take place that our traditional zoning standards may not permit. And so that's what the process is that the applicant has come through over a long period of time, as you heard earlier. I don't know that I necessarily have much more to add, other than those four ordinance standards that were being sought for relief, which was regarding the height. So 55 feet when 50 feet is permitted, 52.47 feet of an east side setback, and we can see that up on the graphic there, where 75 feet is required. And then in terms of the density, we measure that by rooms. So it's 543 rooms, so they're seeking a deviation of 313 rooms. And then the parking spaces. So they are providing 365 spaces, which I believe that we note was about 1.68 spaces per unit. So that would be a standard that we'd be looking at applying here. There have been some discussions about some additional building materials, landscaping that we may want to add into our discussion tonight. Again, keeping this at sort of a larger level, knowing that should this project move forward with your approval tonight, the site plan will be submitted and the Planning Commission will be taking a look at that, making sure that that site plan is in alignment with the approval and any conditions that you place on that tonight, as well as the development agreement that the city attorney will work on with the applicant to have that be part of the contract that is also included as part of a PUD process. So I can be brief there, and if anybody has any questions for me, I'm happy to answer those too.
Anybody have any questions? Seeing no questions, I think we can move on to the public hearing. Okay, I'm going to open the public hearing and call up Mr. Michael Schuster, who has filled out a blue form. So I will now open the public hearing.
Thank you. Good evening.
Hello.
I am an owner of a unit in Country Glens, which actually overlooks that north parking run on the building that's proposed. I have attended all the public hearings for this property since 2021. At first, I was skeptical. I was concerned about property values, how it would affect it. I've done my own personal due diligence, and if anything, it'll increase the property values at Country Glens. I am for this project for a number of reasons. I've been in Farmington Hills since 1986. This particular piece of property in Farmington Hills has not exactly been developed very well since 1986, and I'll leave it at that. The last thing I remember was on the property was a Michigan Bell telephone switch building, which finally got torn down. So with that in mind, considering where this is in the city at Northwestern and 14, in my mind, it is a very good use of the property. Considering what other things could be there, I, as an owner of a condo at Country Glens, am for this property, especially in lieu of what else could be there. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Does anybody else want to come forward for the public hearing on this PUD project? Seeing no one, I will officially close the public hearing and bring it back to council. Any discussion, questions, motion?
Here, can I make a motion?
Yes.
I would like to make the motion to approve, I guess is what I'm doing here, Ms. City Attorney.
That's what you're doing.
Yep, approve the revised Plan Unit Development Plan PUD 3-2021, located at 32680 Northwestern Highway. As I've said many times before, I think that this is a very nice development. This has been an eyesore in the city for decades. I think the gentleman before me spoke very clearly about that. And if this isn't built, I think it'll continue to be an eyesore until probably some other little retail or something goes in there that's not going to be, I think, good for that area. This is going to bring in millions in tax dollars every year to the city. And it's also going to have young families that become home buyers eventually. This is going to support more businesses in that area, and we've seen too many restaurants and other businesses come and go because they don't have the business to support them, and yet this is going to put hundreds of families in an area that desperately needs them. We always look at and talk about how can we increase young people being in the city. Well, this is a great way to do it right here. This is an inroads for young families to move into the city and then again, hopefully become long-term residents. So I think that this really satisfies a lot of the concerns that we've had. In terms of public benefit, I think the number one public benefit is, again, cleaning up that area and making it nice and making it, because that's kind of a major gateway into our city as well. And the public benefit is making the entrance, one of the entrances to our city look nice. I mean, it's going to be, I think, a good-looking development. So I think that overrides pretty much everything else. In terms of the other variances, I think they're minimal. Again, this is a PUD. We can adjust things however we want to under a PUD. And so I agree. I think it's going to increase property values because it does clean up that area and provide a tremendous amount of economic benefit throughout that area. So those are my comments.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, it's been moved by,
Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, there's a resolution that I think needs to be read as part of
I
the
thought I
full
was missing
motion.
something here.
Yeah, I have it here if you want to pass it down.
That would be great.
Yep.
Oh, I've got it. Never
Okay.
mind. Okay,
If I
so,
may, Madam Mayor, at the end of it, you'll see that there's the opportunity for additional conditions, and I know you've had some discussions. The Planning Commission had a number of conditions, and as you can see in this draft motion, those would be incorporated automatically, and some other standard conditions, but if there are other things that council wants to add, and I know they talked with Mr. Butler and Mr. Asmar at the study session about some of those ideas, that is that spot on that motion that you'd add any. You don't have to, it's just there for you if you decide you want.
Okay.
so I need to amend my motion.
You would need to amend your motion to include these conditions.
Madam Mayor, may I
Yes.
amend my motion? Okay, I would say that I resolve that the application for approval of revised PUD Plan 3-2021 dated March 24, 2023 is approved. Oh, this is, I'm sorry, I'm looking, is dated, let me back up. Dated March 24, 2023, the following motion is offered. Resolve the application for approval of revised PUD Plan 3-2021 is granted subject to the following conditions. 1, any conditions and requirements set forth in the Planning Commission September 15th, 2022 motion recommending approval of the PUD plan to City Council shall be complied with or addressed to the satisfaction of the Planning and Community Development Department. Number 2, any conditions and requirements stated in Giffords-Webster's review shall be complied with or addressed to the satisfaction of the Planning and Community Development Department. Number 3, any conditions and requirements stated in the reviews of the city engineer and city fire marshal are complied with or addressed to the satisfaction of the city engineer and fire marshal. And further resolve that the city attorney prepare the appropriate PUD agreement stipulating the final PUD approval conditions and authorizing the identified zoning deviations for city council consideration and final approval.
I accept those comments.
you second that motion?
Those amendments, those are friendly amendments, so I support those.
Okay, the motion on the floor was just read by Dr. Bruce and seconded by Councilmember Bridges. Mr. Bridges, you would like to make a comment?
Yeah, I just wanted to say, I just want to echo the comments made by Mayor Pro Tem Bruce in regards to what it's going to do for our community. I think that the proponent has worked with us on this project for several months and has been through a couple study sessions, and the council has asked for things, and the proponent has, in my viewpoint, moved toward our direction. But I also believe that given what's happening in West Bloomfield and the Encore project, which is already passed by the City Council, that can also provide a really good nucleus of a high-quality apartments in north side of our city. And like Councilmember Bruce has stated, that we've been desiring to have young professionals remain in our community, and this project will do just that. So, and I also believe that it will have an enormous impact regarding spurring redevelopment in that area too, regarding retail businesses as well. So I support the motion. Thank you.
Okay, anyone else? Dr. Massey?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And I'm wrestling with this one because to the gentleman's comments, it does clean up that area and it does look really good. You know, what looks to be a nice development. But I haven't seen a traffic study that this corner is already pretty busy, this entire issue. So I'm a little concerned about that. But further, and I've said this before, and I'm just going to be really consistent with it, when 36+% of our homes in this city are rental units, those are apartments, that's not just homes for rent. The desire to have people to become residents of Farmington Hills, I haven't heard, I've heard the discussions because I've asked why not make it, if you're going to sell houses that are, or sell apartments that are going to be rented for mortgage level prices and higher, why not make them owner occupied? Because I have concerns over what happens to luxury apartments when 40 years elapses, and at that point in time, this no longer is a beautiful luxury development, and with one going in across the street, which I have some concerns about as well, looking at what's gone on in some of our other luxury apartment developments across the city, and the issues that come with those, that is a huge concern, because when almost 40% of our homes are in these types of, we exceed all the cities around us, including the city of Detroit, by a fairly substantial margin. It concerns me that we're just adding to that and what happens down the road. So for those reasons, I'm going to be consistent with my concern, and I will not be supporting the motion. Although I have to say, what is there now to what this looks like is a vast improvement. So I'm a little conflicted, but this is, that's where my concern comes from. And when we look at our major incident reports every Friday, we have to be honest that there's a reason for that concern, and I'm going to leave it at that. Thank you.
Ms. Newland?
I support what Mayor Pro Tem Bruce has said, and also what Councilmember Bridges has said. I totally support this project. As a mom of 3 that's 3 under 30, I know how hard it is to own a home. And this rent is a little bit higher than I expected, but it is within line of what's being paid out there. It's going to be a big draw for, again, families, which I've been saying for a long time. We need more families. We need more young professionals in the city. And with the debt that they're carrying from education, homeownership is beyond a lot of their range right now. So again, this is going to increase the businesses, the restaurants. It is going to be, I think it's going to be a crown jewel in our city. Also, again, there's concern that Councilmember Massey projected about other rental properties declining. Well, this is called peer pressure. If someone has a choice now between this place or choosing a place that's not being kept maintained, they're probably going to step up for those who own those other properties to improve things. So I'm very supportive of this project.
Anyone else? Okay, well, I want to say a few things. I believe in this PUD plan, there is, you've agreed to some public art and to a mass transit hub or a stop. I too have come a long way, and the motto of our 50th anniversary year and our new master plan will be the next 50, not the past 50, but the next 50. And as much as there are things I grew up thinking were the norm, life is not sharing those with the current reality. I always thought that as a senior, the best thing you could do is own your own home. I'm not convinced now that I'm a senior that the best thing to do is own your own home. I think people want flexibility to move, to travel, to rent for part of the year in one spot and part of the year in another. And in fact, the new mentality of fairly affluent retirees is to sell their home and rent a high-end apartment so they can have an apartment here and an apartment maybe where their kids are in California or somewhere else, and they travel between the two, but they're no longer tied to a real estate investment that keeps them burdened somewhere in particular. And there's a lot to be said for that. For young families just starting out, they're looking for smaller apartments, not larger ones, and they're looking for third spaces. And those third spaces are great public amenities, restaurants, and dining spaces that are outdoors and somewhere else. When you reach out to West Bloomfield now, and you look at what's happening with the older auto dealerships and how they're being converted to high-end apartments, and this area of Northwestern Highway, which is decidedly less residential in terms of being inviting to people, more full of traffic. What you want to see there is a burgeoning of third space entertainment venues, whether they be jazz clubs, wine bars, cigar bars, whatever they happen to be. And all of that redevelopment that will refurbish the shopping centers that are on hard times now at 14 Orchard Lake and Northwestern, added in with a passage of a millage for public transit, puts us right in the heart of creating a desirable transit hub, massive development opportunity that will provide folks that live in these units to be able to get on a bus and head straight downtown if they want to see a hockey game, a baseball game, or whatever they wish to do downtown and enjoy the amenities, and then also work from there. But mostly they're working from home. And they want to come home and grab a drink after work at a nice outdoor venue or something else. So we have to start changing our mindset around what those of us that are 60 plus grew up with, and look at what our 20-somethings and 30-somethings are growing up with massive debt for college education and everything else. They're marrying later, they're having children later, and during those formative years of early working, we want them to put away retirement dollars, and the best way for them to do that is by renting a high-end, affordable housing apartment that keeps them close to their families in a desirable neighborhood. So I have run the gauntlet with this, and the developer knows. And I have totally come around, and we have to go where the people are and not where our old mindset of a growing community happens to be. And unlike Detroit, we are not burdened with housing stock that's in total decay and neighborhood after neighborhood after neighborhood with boarded up buildings. So that kind of comparison is not working for me. Brooklyn, New York City, those kinds of comparisons, parts of Texas, Plano, those are more in line of what, and Royal Oak, more in line of what we're looking at. I'd be happy to join that club, so I will be supporting this. And now that I've said my piece, is this a roll call vote?
It is.
Okay.
Council members Bridges,
Yes.
Bruce,
Yes.
Newland,
Yes.
Bullaware,
Yes.
Massey,
Nope.
and Mayor Burnett.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you all for coming in tonight. It's been a long road. Thank you for being so cooperative, patient to the developer, and working with the neighbors next door who suffered through a terrible fire over there. And yes, we're being thanked by one of the owners of an apartment there that is thanking our first responders for the job that they did to turn out quickly and make sure that there was no loss of life in that fire. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you for the good comments, good discussion. I think we ended up with a good project.
Looking for a bus station.
Good luck.
Thank you.
We'll be talking to Steve Kaplan, the supervisor next door. Next item is consideration of approval of appointments to various boards and commissions. Dr. Massey.
Madam Mayor, I have a motion for you, and I would move to appoint to the Commission on Aging Julianne Villani to complete an unexpired term ending 1 February 2024, and Amar Al-Kafaji for an expired term that would end on 1 February 2027.
Don't rush to second so fast. Come on, people.
Second.
Thank you. See, is there any discussion? Moved by Dr. Massey, seconded by Dr. Bruce. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Next item on the, opposed. Passes with one absence. All yes. Next is item number 7, transmittal and acceptance of the capital improvement plan 2023-24 through 2028-29. We will, after the transmission, we will need a motion to accept. Okay.
Good evening.
Hello.
Hello.
It's your night.
It is, yeah. Make it worthwhile. The transmittal of the capital improvements plan is scheduled for this evening. The capital improvements plan, for those who are not aware, is a planning document that we utilize to efficiently and thoughtfully plan for capital improvements throughout the community over 6 years. It's not a budget document, but it feeds to the budget in order to fully understand what needs to be addressed and in what time frame. It is up to the council to determine how to incorporate that and which projects to move forward with the budgetary process. So this evening, we have the 6-year plan for capital projects in public facilities, police, technology, parks and recreation, fire, public works, drainage, sanitary sewers, water mains, sidewalks, and transportation. The Planning Commission formally adopted this plan at their public hearing March 16th, 2023. I will answer as many questions as I'm able to. I'm not an expert in all of the areas that are included in this plan, but we'll do our best.
Anybody have any questions? There's sidewalks in there, Mike.
Good.
Yes.
Excellent.
Quite a few.
I saw that, yeah, I saw that. No
Excuse me,
question.
I will get formal. Mr. Bridges, there are some sidewalks as you requested in there.
I appreciate it. Hey, I would just, no, the next step is for the council to accept, or we need to make a
We
motion?
needed to make a motion to accept.
I make a motion that we accept the CIP as presented by our Community Planning Director, Mrs. Chanel.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, it's been moved by by Mr. Bridges, supported, yeah, you can have 2 of those, supported by Councilmember Newland. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, we have accepted it unanimously with 1 absence. Next item is number 8, consideration approval of introduction of an ordinance to amend the Farmington Hills Code of Ordinances, Chapter 2, to provide for amendment of retirement benefits and to extend consistent benefits to exempt employees of the 47th District Court, CMR 4-23-45. This is a cleanup, I understand.
Correct, yes. This was actually supposed to be the way it was supposed to be entered. The 47th District Court employees who were added through the ordinance amendments in January by the City Council were added to an annuity withdrawal discount group along with ASME. They were supposed to be added to the group with the general exempt employees and Teamsters. That's a different schedule. And so Court Administrator Stacy Park correctly observed that differential and gave me a call, and then Gary and I reviewed it and agreed, yes, that was what we intended to do. We just put it in the wrong place. So,
Okay.
yeah.
Any questions? If not, is there a motion?
I got it, yeah, I'll do it. Motion, I move the council approve the introduction of an ordinance to amend the Farmington Hills Code of Ordinances, Chapter 2, to provide for amendment for retirement benefits and to extend consistent benefits to exempt employees of the 47th District Court.
Support.
Okay, it's been moved by Mr. Bridges, supported by
I'll second.
Dr. Massey already did that. Sorry. He was quick. He was quick on the S word, support. Okay, any discussion? Seeing none, is this a roll call or regular? Roll call. No, this
Councilmembers
is regular.
Bruce,
Yes.
Newland,
Yes.
Bullaware,
Yes.
Massey,
Yes.
Bridges,
Yes.
and Mayor Barnett.
Yes. Okay, and that brings us to item number 21, Attorney's Report. Any questions?
Questions?
Okay. Next item is a closed session, consideration of approval to enter into a closed session to discuss an employee requested review for the city manager. Council will return to open session immediately following the closed session to take any action if needed and to close the meeting. So you can stay, but you can't stay in here. and then you can come back and hear us adjourn, if that's your pleasure. But right now, we will now temporarily close the public meeting and open the closed session.
I think
Oh, we're back on. Okay, we're back. We closed, I hit the gavel too fast. We need a motion in order to do this.
Yes, Madam Mayor, I would make a motion to enter closed session to discuss an employee requested review for the city manager. And council will return open session immediately following the closed session to take action if needed to close the meeting.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, moved by Dr. Bruce, seconded by Councilmember Newland. Okay.
There's a roll call.
It's a roll call.
Yes. Council members Newland,
Yes.
Bolaware,
Yes.
Massey,
Yes.
Bridges,
Yes.
Bruce,
Yes.
and Mayor Barnett.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, now I get to do this. I'm going to do it twice, just because I can. Welcome back from closed session. We will now ask for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Supported.
Been moved by the doctors, Dr. Bruce and Dr. Massey. Is there any discussion? Seeing none? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, we're done. Good night, Farmington Hills.